Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be going through my April reading wrap up. I read 4 books, well I read 3 and I listened to 1, and when I tell you I was off to such a bang at the beginning of this month. I thought I was going to be finishing a couple more books, but I kind of went off kilter for the last 2 weeks of this month and got too scared to pick up the book I was supposed to be reading. So I just didn't, and I've not actually really read much in about 2 weeks. I think I'm going to get back into it. I'm going to hype myself up and read the book that I meant to be reading this month, in May. I'll get on to explaining what book has scared me and put me off reading for a little bit. But first, let's just go through the books that I actually finished. The book I listened to was Grim Curiosities by Sharon Lynn Fisher. Sharon is what I have now coined as the queen of cozy gothic fantasies, because the 2 books I've read from her so far, Tea and Alchemy and Grim Curiosities, I have loved every second. They are so gothically whimsy, fantastical, cute, friends to lovers, slow burn, just lapping her writing up. I'm currently actually listening to Salt and Broom, which is another of her books, which again, giving the same cozy gothic-y vibes. But back to Grim Curiosities. This book I rated a 4 stars, and we follow Lizzie Grimm, who runs a curiosity shop in York in 1850s. Every single time I talk about this book, I get the date wrong. So I'm just going to say 1840s, 1850s. And if you guys don't know, York is known to be UK's most haunted place. So gothic vibes times 1000, really. And Lizzie runs this little curiosity shop that she actually co-runs with her mother, but her mum, I think it was a couple months ago, suddenly went mute and she can't communicate and she's like a shell of herself. And what's more interesting is her mum used to be able to speak to ghosts, and she used to run that as like a side business, and then all of a sudden she no longer can really function, which means the only source of income is through this curiosity shop that used to be run by Lizzie's dad, who sadly passed away. So she's trying to be a girl boss and trying to provide for her family in a community and a time where women weren't expected and were frowned upon for doing men's work, i.e. working or doing anything that wasn't sitting and looking pretty. And then our MMC is Anthony Carlisle, who is the son of like the big dog in York at the moment. The Carlisle family are like rich, so Anthony and Lizzie are from completely different sides of society. That doesn't stop them from just instantly getting along, because shock horror, Anthony's little sister has also got the exact same affliction as Lizzie's mum. And it's weird timing because Anthony's mum has also recently passed away. So there must be something, connecting them. So these two band together to try and uncover the affliction that is affecting their families. But there's other mysteries going on at the same time to do with Lizzie's curiosity shop and this random third man who has shown an interest in Lizzie, who Anthony hates. And what is so fun about this is Anthony is so down bad from the get-go, and he keeps catching himself being like, whoa, I barely know her, I'm being a bit weird here. Like, he'll be looking through her window of her shop, seeing her speak to a man and be like, she shouldn't be speaking to a man unchaperoned, and then catch himself being like, hold up, she's literally doing her job. I absolutely love this book. I listened to the first 60% because all of her books, that I have currently read or reading, are on Kindle Unlimited, and then the audiobooks are also on Kindle Unlimited, and they're dual narration. Say less, absolutely love a dual narration. So I listened to the first 60%, but just was in a weird audiobook slump and really wanted to finish this book, so I decided to go onto the physical and binge through the last 40% in one sitting. Loved it, highly recommend, 100%. Quick little pit stop. Look at this. This might be my new whole personality and favourite thing in the entire world. I'm low-key a bit of a hoarder when it comes to water bottles, but I've never really had a really cute perfect one, and I now do, because what do you mean? This is an Awala. Never had an Awala because I don't think you should be spending that much money on a water bottle. I did get it on sale. I got it on sale, so it's fine. But it has all these really cute little things. It's got frogs and ducks in shoes. Yes, please. The next book that I read was Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. This was a big switch up on the normal types of books and genre that I read, because this is a sci-fi, and I would say this is probably classed as like a classic sci-fi book. My take on this book is the message is highlighting the decline of intellectualism and books and how important literature is to us, and focuses on the increase of technology in society and the negative impact that has on relationships and intellectualism and just everything in the world. And I thought it was very interesting. Our main character is a fireman, and instead of putting out fires, firemen now make the fires, because if somebody owns a book, they will call the fireman on you and will flamethrower your house to smithereens. Yeah, and I wouldn't necessarily say I would 100% always recommend this book, but I do think the message is actually quite interesting. And it was a difficult one to rate, because books like these, like classics or books that are very outside of my normal genre, I kind of feel like I shouldn't rate them in the same way that rating an autobiography is quite difficult, because how could you rate someone's life story, you know? I did end up rating it 3.25, which is a quite low rating for me. But I would say maybe to yes in you guys reading it. Then we read a highly anticipated book. And by highly anticipated, I mean highly anticipated by my friends, specifically Amy and Amber, who have been literally begging me to read this book for months, over a year. And this book, the book in question, Rebel Witch by Kristen Ciccarelli. I have some qualms with this book. The major one, well, there were two major qualms. Number one, the plot twist wasn't a plot twist. It was so obvious. From as soon as it got mentioned, you were like, okay, well, I know exactly what that is, who that's referring to. Like, surprise me, Kristen. Surprise me. And my second qualm was the fact I didn't read this sooner, because if I read this at a closer time to when I finished The Crimson Moth, I think it would have had more of an impact on me and I would have remembered more stuff. Because there are bits that I was a bit confused about that came back to me while I was reading it, but I don't think it matters because Gideon Sharp exists. I love an enemies to lovers. I love a slow burn. So this book, this series, lapped it up. Really good. And it is one of those books that makes you realise that if a certain microtrope is done in a certain way, you won't hate it as much. And the trope I'm talking about is miscommunication. Miscommunication is my least favourite trope. It is literally the bane of my existence. I hate it with every single fibre in my body. But the profound miscommunication in this book made so much sense because of the betrayal and the distrust that these characters have for each other from the first book, that the miscommunication actually worked. I never thought I would ever say that, but I did. And I love the forced proximity, the fake dating, the plotting, just the yearning, the fact that they hate each other, but they also just so clearly love each other. I really did enjoy this book, and I would 100% recommend it. And then finally, the last book I read was actually the biggest disappointment of this month, which is a bit of a shock because I read this book in 3 days, in 3 sittings, and it is this big. It is a chunky, hefty boy. It is... How many pages is it? It is 740 pages long. And I read it in 3 sittings. I think I deserve a medal. This is City of Gods and Monsters by Kayla Edwards. I was so excited to read this book. I have wanted to read this series for years. I was really excited because I still thought it was on Kindle Unlimited. But I'm not mad about the fact it's not anymore because I will not be continuing this series. I know. Weird, right? I binged it in 3 days. Lily, you must have loved it. It is such a bingeable book. The writing flows really easily. I just had no connection to any of the characters, really. I thought the world and the concept and the magic awesome, because who doesn't love an urban fantasy? I love urban fantasy, and any urban fantasy, I will give it a go. This had so much potential. I just didn't like the couple, or again, as I said, many of the characters. Apparently the characters do get better in the later books, not in the second book, because we still follow these two. What are their names? Lauren and Darius? No, Darian. Darius is my boy from Zodiac Academy. The major problem I had was, it's something which I find very difficult to explain, and that's when a book has certain plots, and the only way that those plots get resolved is by other micro plots and by ideas that characters have. That is obviously how a plot works. This book, however, just seemed to, out of the blue, randomly just resolve plots by putting other little plot lines in. See, this is what I mean. I can't describe this. It felt like random things were happening that just wouldn't happen just for the sake of making the actual plots make sense. I can't describe that. I do not have a way with words. It just seemed like extraordinary, like these things weren't believable, which I know is ironic because it's a fantasy book, nothing in it is believable, but the way that these plot lines resolved just seemed like they were there for the sake of it and were not believable, and there were way too many of them. Like, this book is 750 pages long. I think it just dragged. I had managed to finish all of those books in, I'm pretty sure, like the first 2 weeks of April. So I had like 2 weeks to read the final book on my April TBR, and I was like, girl, we're gonna make it. We're gonna end up reading all of the books that we spun on our TBR wheel. I haven't started a single page of this. I'm so fucking scared to actually pick this up. I'm daunted. I'm so excited. I am so excited. This is Empire of the Damned by J. Kristoff. This is book 2 in the Empire of the Vampire series. I was so off-put by it because I'm so scared that I actually started reading a little novella called Of Lust and Lunacy by Harper Hawthorne. I was really lucky. I got an arc of this, but I've still not finished it, and it came out on the 26th. I feel like I'm being a bad reader, guys. I am loving this novella. This is book 1.5 in one of my favourite romantasy series, which is a bold claim because book 1 is the only book that's out yet, and it's Of Blood and Ether by Harper Hawthorne. I rant about this book all over my TikTok. So I am absolutely loving it. It is a smutty little novella. It is a smutty, fun, good time. And I love Kieran and Arkin. I'm going to put a picture of Kieran Vistari here for you guys, just so you can understand why I love him so much. But I'm reading that instead of starting this. And I'm a bit annoyed at myself because I really did want to finish this book, but I have decided obviously to carry it over into my May TBR, which I will be posting hopefully a week from now. I have rolled my May reel. This is on it. Don't worry, I will be getting around to this. We will not be leaving this one behind in April. It will get read. So that is it for my April reading wrap up. I would like to know if you guys have read any of these books and what you thought of them, and also let me know what your favourite book and least favourite book that you read in April was. Thank you if you guys have made it this far. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.